Apollo, this year is no different than others. Some investors are unfazed by the noise that's out there as we run up to election day, and others are really quite unnerved by it, wanting to sell out their portfolios and just sit on the sidelines, never really knowing when they're going to get back in, but just knowing they just can't stomach the fact that they'll be in the stock market as the election day approaches. So, based on this, is there really any historical truth to the fact that having a Republican or having a Democrat win, or as in this year, having a Republican or Democratic Congress, will that have the impact that these investors are the ones who exit the market, are so worried about?
We do wonder, how much does it matter having a Republican or Democrat? And there's some people, again, if your party wins, I can tell you right now that you're going to be very excited about the future, very optimistic about the market and the economy. If your party's on the losing end, chances are you're going to feel pessimistic about it. So in a few weeks, half the country will be optimistic, half the country will be pessimistic. Right now, everybody's uncertain, so maybe everybody's a little concerned, which is okay, but we'll get through this in a few weeks. Now, what should you, so coming back to your question, a Republican or Democrat in the White House, we've looked at that issue, and this is what we found, is that when you look at, not my dad's lifetime, but in this case, my own lifetime, I'm born in 1969, when I was born, President Nixon was in office. And during the 5 years or so that President Nixon was in office, the market on average dropped by about 3%, 2.9% on average through the 5 years that he was in office. And after that, President Ford came along for a couple of years or so, and the market skyrocketed about 20% on average. And if you fast forward through the different presidents and the average annualized returns during their time in office, and go back and actually go all the way to the present times, the one thing that becomes very apparent is that there is no discernible pattern that would tell you that having a Republican or a Democrat in the White House is better or worse for the markets. There is no pattern to show. There's no way that somebody can make that judgment. And in fact, I would go a step further and suggest that a president should receive neither credit nor blame for what happens in the market during their time. We talked about President Nixon. Well, it just happened that when he was in office, we went from the gold standard to fiat money, something that was been put in works way before his time. In the early 70s, there was a conflict in the Middle East, and nothing that had to do with us, but to show their displeasure, OPEC imposed an oil embargo against the U.S., leading to 73, 74, which is a devastating time for the U.S. economy. Something, again, that you can say, well, it's your fault. You should get blamed for that. You look at President George W. Bush. He walked in the office just as the .com was starting to go bust, something he had nothing to do with. 9/11 happened 9 months into his term, and that was planned for years. And then he walked off at the very, very bottom of the financial crisis. So to me, should he receive blame for that? Not at all. I don't think that's right. On the other hand, President Clinton happened to be in office when these tech giants were formed, when these companies were established, and that's when they took off. And talking about market timing, left the office before they start turning down in value. But again, it's not about assigning credit or blame. It's just acknowledging that there are many other factors driving the market. And I would not suggest that you look at a president or you say, well, having a Republican, the market goes up under Republicans, the market goes down under the Democrats. And it's not at all clear to me that having one or the other is better or worse.
Again, thanks for being with us today, and please follow us on all our social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. We look forward to seeing you on the other side.